Hi folks, thanks for joining me. I thought I'd just give you a quick update on phase 2 of our Bane Wars campaign. As you may know, we set this in motion about a month or so ago, just to let you know where we're up to. So, at the moment, all the commanders have been assigned their clans. We have 2 new players joining us, Niels and Duncan, commanding the Orcs and the Dwarves. That makes 6 armies in all around the edge of the map. The players have each been assigned 1200 points to build their conquest army. This is on top of their expeditionary force, which they were using last time. So at the moment, I'm just waiting for those army sheets to come back so we can see what everyone's got. And also, of course, they need to place those forces on the map. Speaking of which, let me show you this. I did show you a JPEG of this last time, but what I've been able to do is actually get A3 prints of the complete map. I've filled in a little more as well down to the southeast here. Now, that area hasn't particularly been explored yet, so there are some things on the map there that are unknowns. But as you can see, what we have here are all of the locations from phase 1, plus those new ones. And of course, where the forces moved in, they have taken over certain of those locations. Probably most notable being the Fire Elves, who were very active and among other things took control of location 27, which was that big dwarven mining operation pretty much at the centre of the map there. So what the commanders are doing at the moment, they're putting those armies together, and then they're going to tell me what forces they have stationed where. So, you know, they can use some of the expeditionary forces to garrison the various fortresses and villages that they're holding. And the conquest army is going to start at their normal start point, and then we can get into the first round of movement. Each of the players has a copy of this map as well. And, you know, I've been out and I've bought some more coloured pins. So shortly, this is going to be filled with lots of pins, I suspect, as the forces move around and jockey for position. In terms of my own army, because of course I am controlling the vampires, the legions of the dead. As I said, we started with 1,000-point force as the expeditionary army in phase 1, and there were some reinforcements fed through to that as well. So this is, I was going to say what's left of my expeditionary army, but actually the size increased because the vampires didn't really get involved in any major battle. They didn't really suffer any major losses. But one of the advantages of being a necromancer, of course, is if you do get into a conflict and you've got control of the battlefield at the end, you have a rather fresh, well, it doesn't matter if they're willing or unwilling, you've got a fresh supply of new troops in the form of zombies. So the legions of the dead did increase the number of zombies in their armies as well. I think they also found a tribe of ghouls and managed to lure them to the dark side to join as well. To be honest, the ghouls didn't take much luring. You know, we won't go into detail onto what they were actually promised. I think I'll leave that to your imagination. Aside from that, of course, the good news is I now have 1,200 extra points to spend going with the Fantastic Battles rule set. And as I've mentioned many times, of course, one of the beauties of that rule set is you can tailor make your armies. You don't have any restrictions on what you can do. Within the game lore, there are some restrictions, but generally speaking, if you want to have a speedy zombie unit, then you can do that because you allocate your unit a particular status. Is it elite? Is it a formed company? Is it a group of skirmishers? Then you can pick various traits. They can be fast, they can be mindless, they could be particularly brave, and so on and so on. And of course, each trait you add, or at least each advantageous trait, costs you more points. If you take a disadvantage, like perhaps your troops are slow, then that gives you a few points back to play with. So you can be very creative in building your army, and you can tailor it to a particular tactic. For example, you might fill your army with mostly cavalry and make them fast, give them a furious charge, make them heavy cavalry, give them heavy weapons. So you're going to have less of them, of course, but you're going to have a very powerful, hard-hitting, fast-moving force. Now, as it so happens, naturally, when I'm building this army, I'm looking at the figures I've got and thinking, right, I need some more figures. I mean, isn't that just given with any wargamer? You always need more figures. So I've been online, I've been doing a bit of shopping. Here's what has come in so far. We have some skeleton cavalry. I've got a couple of units of light cavalry. These are heavier. These are sort of skeletal knights. Again, you know, that fast-moving, hard-hitting aspect. We've got some more zombies. They're always good to bump up the numbers. And another type of unit you can have in Fantastic Battles is a horde. So normally with your units, you have a maximum of 4 companies joined together. With a horde, I think you can have up to 8. So that's just like a mass of zombies. Of course, they're fairly undisciplined and all the rest of it, but something about that was quite appealing. Just this huge mass of zombies in the middle of the battlefield. I'll put the links down below to the manufacturers, by the way. I also have come in some human thralls, because I thought the vampire army isn't totally undead. They have a lot of human sort of slaves or thralls, I guess, as well. So I've got some archers for those and some light infantry. Now, I have got some other units here as well, but I'm not going to reveal those for the moment for reasons of great secrecy, and this is something that ties into the game lore as well. So they shall be revealed on the battlefield. And as you can see, I've got a range of units here. We've got some vampire knights, we've got lots of skeletons, light infantry and heavy infantry. We've got some skeleton archers, ghouls, and the wraiths. They're very efficient as well. They're quite fast moving and they're pretty strong. The ghouls are strong as well, but they move fairly slow. So you've either got to stick them right up the front, or they're going to take ages to get to where they can do any good. Supply and logistics do form part of the campaign, naturally, and as I detailed in phase 1, armies have to keep open a supply line back to their base. Having said that, one of the nice things with an undead army is half of them don't need feeding. But then, against that, some of the ones that do need feeding are very particular about what they eat. So, you know, your vampires need a ready supply of blood. I guess that's what the thralls are for, right? So they bring their own food with them. Isn't that great? It's food that marches and fights for you as well. There's something horribly efficient about that. But yeah, there's going to be other aspects of that coming into the game lore as well as we go along. There we go then. That's the state of play at the moment in the Bane. Once I've got those army sheets and deployments back from the commanders, we can move into phase 2 properly. We're going to start with a round of espionage and diplomacy. As it stands, as I said, everyone's been sending out flyers and spies and scouts over the rainy season, or as much as they can. So everyone has a rough idea of where everyone else is, but of course there's no real specifics in that. So the commanders will have the option before we start the first turn to spend some money on spies, scouts and espionage. And of course, diplomatic channels are now open, so the commanders are able to communicate with each other if they want to send offers of friendship, taunts, insults, all that kind of stuff. And that is a real fun part of the campaign because it starts to build that character relationship and the narrative. And I'm delighted to say that that has already started, because Duncan sent me a note that he's decided those dwarves who took part in phase 1, those units who were, let's be blunt about it, they were soundly defeated by the fire elves, and they fled, withdrew, a strategic retreat perhaps, whichever way you want to put it. The upshot was that they came back to the dwarven homeland in some disgrace, and those units are now known as the Shamed. So they've really got to go some in phase 2 of the campaign in order to regain and rebuild their reputation. So that's a really nice little touch. Straight away there's extra motivation for these particular units to do well on the battlefield. Okay, that's it for this update. Next time we'll be into turn 1, so we'll see how things start with that, how things are going. I'll also let you know of what is going on the diplomacy front, or at least as much as I can reveal, because of course the fog of war and all that sort of stuff, subterfuge. But what I can let you know, I shall. And once we get some battles going, of course I'll be doing full reports on those. Now, I have mentioned that 2 of our new commanders, one is, well, it's in the UK, it's not actually too far away, it's up in Rutland. I'm in Bedfordshire. But Niels is in Sacramento in California, so there's going to be no popping backwards and forwards there. However, I was speaking to Lee from the Miniature Adventures YouTube channel the other day. In fact, I had him on here, Dragon's Teeth, for a really nice chat. Look on the channel, you'll be able to see that. One thing he mentioned was about doing tabletop battles over Zoom during lockdown, but also in some cases continuing that after lockdown as well. And in fact, he said there's a guy in the States who runs battles exclusively on Zoom. So I was picking up some tips from Lee on how to do a tabletop battle over Zoom. So fingers crossed, if the stars align and technology allows, there is a possibility that we'll be able to run a tabletop battle with a remote commander. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out along with the rest of the campaign. And of course, to be sure you don't miss anything, please click that subscribe button below. That will keep you in touch with everything we've got going on here on the channel. Alright, that's it for today. Thanks again for watching. Do keep those questions, comments and suggestions coming in, and I'll see you next time.